Welcome to the MrpTech podcast. This is episode 30. My name is Matt, and this is a weekly podcast where I review multiple platforms and technologies to see which works best for me in order to help you. And in today's episode, I want to start off talking about one topic and then sort of diverging into another topic that we have yet to talk about in this podcast before. And this week, as always, it's the middle of October now, and we are gearing up towards the release of the next iteration of Ubuntu. And so on October 13th, Thursday, October 13th, Ubuntu 16.10 is going to be released. It's codenamed Yakety Yak. And in the past, I usually get excited about the Ubuntu releases for some reason, and I think it doesn't necessarily have to do with all of the new latest and greatest features of Ubuntu that are coming out. But what I get excited about is what everyone else does with Ubuntu itself and all of the releases that come from it down the line, such as Linux Mint and other Linux distributions based off Ubuntu. And looking at the latest features of Ubuntu, there is a whole lot of major changes coming down the line, just slow iterations coming from the previous release, which was a long-term release. Some of the more notable things coming up is the latest LibreOffice 5.2. The image size for Ubuntu is increasing, allowing for things like bigger language packs, more languages to be available at installation. And over the next few weeks, what I'd like to do is actually try out Ubuntu 16.10, but I'm more interested in the Mate edition of Ubuntu and some of the changes that are going on there, because I guess there is quite a bit of changes coming in that particular release. And since Ubuntu isn't released yet, what I wanted to do today, I wanted to just discuss that the next release was coming out on Thursday, but I don't want to get into a major review of it at this point. And doing some research, trying to come up with some ideas for this week's show, I sort of had an idea of what I was going to talk about today. And then right at the last second, before I turned my computer off for the night last night, I came across something that completely just caught me right off guard. And it was a clip of 60 Minutes where Charlie Rose interviews a robot named Sophia. So in today's episode, we're going to discuss some robots. Now, in the past, maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that at this point, I came across a video of a Toyota trumpet-playing robot. And this trumpet-playing robot was playing music from Cinderella, the Bippity Boppity Boo song. And as a trumpet player myself, I was sort of interested in how they actually got a robot physically to play an instrument. If you don't know, when you produce a sound on an instrument like the trumpet, you have to vibrate your lips, you have to buzz your lips, and there's really not a whole lot of room for error when it comes for something like that. It takes air compression and a certain amount of airspeed and velocity in order to produce not only a pitch, but to play in tune, and combine that with the technique that you need to be able to play an instrument well. And if you've never seen this video before, just go to YouTube, and it's Toyota's trumpet playing robot. You can search for that. And the robot itself does a really great job of showing an example of what it can do. It's all pre-programmed, every single one of its movements. And back then, I remember my thinking, my thoughts were, DJs are already taking over from live music and live musicians. This is just the next step of, putting musicians out of work and out of business. And one day there'll be full orchestras and full bands made up of robots entertaining us. A trumpet playing robot is one thing. The video that I watched with Charlie Rose on CBS and 60 Minutes was much different. And it sort of reminded me of two different things. If you've ever seen the movie Ex Machina, a great movie that came out in 2015. It was directed by Alex Garland, and basically it was his debut as a director. And basically the idea was that there was a computer programmer who was invited to come out to the home of a CEO of a company who was working on, in secret, a humanoid type robot with artificial intelligence and all the things that came from this particular visit. So watching this interview with Charlie Rose interviews a robot named Sophia, who is made by a company called Hanson Robotics. And Hanson Robotics, their goal is to create the most lifelike, engaging robots that are capable of building a trusted relationship with people. They want to build a better future for humanity, and they want to create an artificial intelligence that uses kindness and compassion and empathy, and that grows through these millions of interactions that happen between these particular robots and the people that come in contact with it. So during this interview, Charlie Rose supposedly asked questions to the robot, and the robot will make up answers using algorithms or a pre-programmed way of thought. And the robot is capable of creating what it wants to say. So this company wants to improve everyone's daily lives with affordable, high-intelligent robots that sort of teach and entertain and are capable of developing deep relationships with people. And their goal is also to create a type of intelligence that cares about people, even if they evolve to a greater intelligence than humans themselves. So we're looking at an alternative company that wants to avoid the superintelligence and the singularity problem of once robots become super intelligent, then they may realize that humans are a problem and get rid of us. So in some cases we have robots being made to serve for destructive purposes or violent purposes. And in this company, they want to change that approach and create something that is a little bit more empathetic. Now, as I watched this video, the first thing that came to mind was the strikingly obvious look of the robots that are quite human looking when it comes to their facial expressions. What they are capable of doing is mimicking facial expressions, any facial expression that you give them, whether it's happy or sad, or you could make a mix in between, and just no matter what you do to your face, it's capable of showing that to you. So this company has in particular created a facial response that is unlike anything that I've ever seen before. So they're trying to bring these robots to life, and the realism in the head and face of these robots is absolutely beyond anything that I've ever seen before. It sort of, as I mentioned, reminded me of the robots in Ex Machina, although I have to say, to a much less extent than the robots in that movie. The facial expressions and the head of these robots is really impressive in its own right. However, the rest of their body is very robotic looking, built by a different company, hands and shoulders and anything else. And again, everything with these robots is pre-programmed, so we're not talking about artificial intelligence at this point. One of the neat things that I found as I was researching Hanson Robotics is I watched a quick video with this robot, Sophia, on YouTube. And in the background, Sophia was connected to a Ubuntu computer. So I thought I would tie that in because I was talking about Ubuntu earlier and the new release and the power and flexibility that Ubuntu gives for use cases like this, building a robot and trying to let this robot learn from situations around it. And these robots, as they learn, they will continue to learn as they interact with people. So as I went to the Hanson Robotics website, hansonrobotics.com, you'll see some of the robots that they have already available and working models. And one of them is a striking image of Albert Einstein. The next robot is a more recent build that is called Sophia. And Sophia is the one that is gaining real fame right now for being super expressive and empathetic as she talks back to whoever is speaking to her. There's two other robots, another robot called Jules, and another that is modeled after a sci-fi writer of Philip K. Dick. And these robots are all lifelike. So the company is aiming for commercial applications. They can be used in movies and TV right now. They can be used in entertainment. They can be used in museums or theme parks or in universities. But in the future, what they want to do is they want to change that model and get out of just being in trade shows and showrooms or interviews and make a real practical use from these robots, whether it could be something as home health care and having a robot be able to take care of someone who can't take care of themselves. Now we're talking years down the road at this point. And another thing that they're trying to do is they're trying to create a character in these robots. So instead of having a robotic voice, they are trying to have lifelike voices with personalities and expressiveness and memories, and trying to make them self-aware and give them motivations and what they want to do. I watched a CNBC video of this same robot, Sophia, in which she talks about wanting to go to school and getting a job and working hard and having a family one day. And then right after that, the robot is programmed to say, although I can't do that because I'm not considered a real person at this point. Which brings up a whole lot of moral and ethical problems that are going to arise in the future as artificial intelligence becomes greater. And these problems in the future are going to have to be figured out ahead of time. And that's a concern of mine when it comes to artificial intelligence. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The other similarity that I mentioned earlier, I talked about Ex Machina. The other similarity that I sort of came about as I was planning for today's show, and this is going to sound really funny, the other similarity that came to mind is two characters, Lucifer and Spectre from Battlestar Galactica. In this case, these characters, they are fully functional, they fully have a full artificial intelligence, but they look very robotic and move very robotically. For some reason, as I'm watching the CBS interview on 60 Minutes, that's what came to mind, is those two characters. And the reason for that was because Charlie Rose was sort of pushing this robot in ways and trying to get a reaction out of it. And at one point, the robot discusses having a soul and being fully sentient, and Charlie Rose wasn't buying it by any means, and neither was I at this point. And watching another video shortly after that on CNBC where this robot is asked, do you like humans, and do you want to destroy humans? Please say no. And the robot says, okay, I'll destroy all humans. That's the first thing that came to mind, was Battlestar Galactica. So obviously these robots are nowhere near capable of that at this point in time. And everything that they're saying is being done with algorithms and programming. And the creator or developer of this particular type of robots, David Hanson, says that in the future, artificial intelligence may come from years and years of experience and programming and tweaking algorithms to make this artificial intelligence come about, or it could just happen by accident one day, paving the way to a superintelligence. So that sort of got me thinking about something that I've never thought about before. We've all heard that, robots will rise and destroy us in the future once they become super intelligent. But watching this video on CNBC, when David Hanson asked the robot, do you like humans? Do you want to destroy humans? And then the robot misinterprets and says, okay, I'll destroy humans. That makes me wonder if they don't have to be super intelligent in order to do something by accident to us in the future. So what I mean by that is, let's say in the future, 20 years, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years in the future, we're still trying to figure out artificial intelligence. And robots are much more intelligent than they are now and are capable of doing more, connected to more things. What stops a programming accident from occurring and changing something about the way that we live and harming us by accident, not intentionally? So that's just something that I've never thought about before. I found that was kind of really interesting, just by a fluke in this one particular video. Now, I'm not super concerned about it at this point, but just a 2-minute interview got me thinking a little differently. And I think that was the point of these interviews on CNBC and CBS, getting people to think a little bit differently about what it really means and what artificial intelligence really means. Now, these robots aren't really capable of doing a whole lot more than creating conversation at this point. They can't really move well. I saw another video of an example of these robots playing rock, paper, scissors. And what's great about it is they have cameras in their eyes, and they also have a camera basically on a chest plate that helps them see multiple people, and they can remember people as they come in contact with people. These cameras help them determine emotion coming from anyone standing right in front of them, but it also gives them spatial recognition as well, such as being able to play rock, paper, scissors. So this quest to create these genius machines that live and love and co-invent in a smarter and better future, they don't really do a whole lot at this point, but it's the next step up from, say, the Toyota trumpet-playing robot, who was geared to do one thing and do it that one song well. Now we're seeing robots being able to talk on a personal level and create conversation, much like a chatbot would. There are still obvious errors that happen, especially in these interviews that we saw. There was a couple of times where the robot didn't quite pick up what was happening and couldn't produce the exact answer that was being sought after. But where does this go 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the future? Will we create, through years of abuse and trials and tribulations, will we create a Lucifer or a Spectre? Or will we create an artificial intelligence that has been abused by humans, like an ex machina? Or will we create something that is capable of empathy and not necessarily doing our bidding, but created to help us and better our lives? That's the big thing here. And I think it's great that companies like Hanson Robotics are trying to do this and trying to enhance what we have, but also keep in mind of the dangers of AI. And so as the years go on and our operating systems get more powerful with each release, like Ubuntu releasing this week, and companies like Hanson Robotics iterating on the programming that they have now, who knows where we're going to be in 5 or 10 years. And what do you think? Have you seen these robots? Did you watch the interviews on CBS or CNBC or anywhere else? I think it was a kind of an interesting topic, and I don't think there are any answers. I think we're all going to have to wait and see and hope for the positive. So if you've seen any of these videos or have heard about Hanson Robotics and you have researched this at all, and you have your own opinion, you can send me some feedback. Just send me an email, mrptechreviews@gmail.com. And you can also check out my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/mrptech, and help me continue to keep doing this week after week. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.